hope this is going live. It is. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Australian Women Speakers live stream show, because I think it's important that we share all the amazing talent that is out there and change the stats from 30% women speakers to 50%, and the hideous stat that I found out this week that only 15% of panels are featuring women, which doesn't surprise me, but also kind of shocks me at the same time. So let me introduce my fabulous guest. I see her all over social media. She's an amazing woman. Welcome, Justine Martin.
Thanks, Jules. It's so good to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us about what it is that you talk about and why.
So I'm known as the Queen of Resilience, and I talk about my story on how I overcame multiple, people call them adversities. I'm now changing the narrative to life moments.
Yeah.
Because that's what an adversity is, and changing my mindset through the whole process. So in a 30-second rundown, 2011, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and told that I would never be able to work again. 2000. Yeah, that would be enough for most people. And my mum had MS as well. She passed away from complications from it when I was 26. She was 49. And she had 3 primary cancers as well. And so I've had a very traumatic childhood. I was her primary carer in my teenage years and in my early 20s, and then had to make the gut-wrenching decision to put her into care when I was 22 years old.
Oh, wow.
And then she died 4 years later. So then at the age of 40, I was diagnosed with MS. And we were always told that we would never get it, that it's not hereditary. And it's not. But if there's a genetic predisposition, you can get it. And I guess I won the lottery that day, just the wrong one. So that was 2011, and told that I couldn't work anymore. I'd just gotten engaged, and I was in cloud 9. I was in my dream job, and I hit rock bottom. Then 2012, my fiance left me saying that me having MS would affect his goals and dreams in life.
Oh, my gosh.
But he did me a favor, because he was a narcissistic man, and although I hit rock bottom, it forced me to grow. And then 2013, 14 and 15, I underwent heart surgeries. I took up Olympic weightlifting in the middle of all of that, because I'd been doing powerlifting and all-round weightlifting, and I took up Olympic weightlifting through that. 2016, I bought a house, and the day I got the keys to the house, I found out that I could have cancer. So 2016, I started going purple with a condition called lividio reticularis. I looked like a zombie. The kids thought I was out of The Walking Dead. They thought it was great. And so we try and always put a bit of humor in everything that, has happened. Then I got diagnosed with melanoma when they were looking for lymphoma.
Oh, Justine, the hits just don't stop coming.
Wait, there's more. Then and look, the spoiler alert in this, and I normally, when I stand up on stage, say, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. I'm alive. I'm very happy. And I'm as well as what I could potentially be for me. So then in the December that year, I got diagnosed with a condition called mixed cryoglobulinemia. So I couldn't bend my fingers, my toes, I had decreased lung capacity, and I was dying. And then in the January, I got diagnosed with chronic lymphocystic leukemia and small lymphocystic lymphoma. So I had 3 primary cancers, 2 blood conditions, and the MS all at the same time. And you do what anyone else does. You renovate your home.
Anything to get your mind off it.
Yeah, and then, I wasn't going to die. No one had actually told me. I didn't know I was stage 4 until the November that year. Then they said I had to have a letter to travel to the West Coast to hand to doctors and that. And then I read the letter and oh my God, I'm stage 4. No one had told me. And I don't know if that would have changed my mental outlook on it all. But, there were some dark days and that through it. Then in 2018, I got diagnosed with lipedema, which is inflammation of the fat, which affects 11% of all women. So I stand up on stage and I flash my legs because I look thin here, but I'm not from the waist down and in my arms. So, I'm trying to raise awareness on that as well.
Yeah.
and it's a genetic condition. So there's so many women with it. I can walk around and go, she's got it, she's got it, she's got it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's resistance to weight loss, and so I talk
It's
about
water
that.
retention, isn't it? That your body doesn't pump out the water.
No, no, that's lymphedema.
Oh,
Lipedema is it's different. Lipedema is inflammation of the fat, and so I
right.
stand up on stage in some of my talks and educate. And I'll have women coming up to me at the ends of the talk and saying, "Do you think I've got it? Is this, can you look at my legs?" And I'm no medical professional, but I've been living with it for 53 years, and I
Yeah.
can pick now on look, and I'll say, "Look, you need to go to this doctor, or
Yeah,
go and
right.
talk Lipedema Australia on that." And so then in 2020, I'd had a few rocky relationships, and then I entered into a relationship just when COVID started, and about 10, 11 months later, he threw me into a wall and broke my arm.
Oh my God, Justine, stop it. Oh no, now it's gone a little bit.
And
You there?
did. Yep, I am here.
Yep,
We froze for a bit.
we did.
So yeah, he threw me into a wall and broke my arm and other parts of my anatomy as well, and and it was my drawing arm, my painting arm, because I'm an artist now, and all the way through all these life moments, I created businesses. So I went from being told not to work ever again to now I own 5 successful businesses. It was actually 7, but we put 2 under
Wow.
to streamline it. And
Under one of
I've
the other
won,
titles.
yeah, look, and I've won 22, 23 business awards in the last 3 years, including Geelong's Business Leader of the Year last year.
Right.
And then in 2022, I put myself back out into the dating world, and I met this beautiful man, and unfortunately, I found him dead on the floor 2 years ago. So there isn't there isn't a life moment that I haven't.
No, I can see why you're called the Resilience Queen.
Yeah. So, I get up on stage and I talk about, I've developed the 10 top tips in resilience and how to incorporate them daily into your lives. And that when there is a bad life moment, on how you can bounce forward. And so for me, I stand on stage and I talk about bouncing forward from these life moments, because
Right.
resilience isn't about bouncing back. Everyone's like, oh yeah, you bounce back when you've got resilience, and I'm trying to change the narrative on that we don't. We bounce forward
I
because
love
we're
it.
never
Yeah.
the same person of what we were before we had that life moment.
No,
So
you're
that's
so
it
true.
about. Yeah.
Wow, Justine, what an inspirational story. And just from your lovely joie de vivre, I can see what a great woman you are as well. So, what kind of audiences do you like to take this talk to? Have you got a preferred gender, size, I don't know, industry that you like to work with?
No, I don't. Look, I'll talk in front of anyone, um, because I
Well,
can
well,
tailor.
what? Yeah, you can
I can
tailor it.
tailor what I'm, the subject on what they need. I mean, I have so many different keynotes that I can do and adapt to the age of the audience, the age, the gender, the
Okay,
location.
so let me give you another, put it a different way. What's your sweet spot? If you had to pick any size audience and any kind of industry, who do you love speaking to because you know it makes a difference?
Um, oh,
Putting you on
that's
the
a
spot
tough
now.
one. You did put me in the spot. Look, I like a really big audience. I
Right.
like to impact. I believe that my story is someone's survival guide,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they see what I've been through and what I'm still achieving and how I'm breaking the narrative on what disability is, because I'm officially
yeah.
disabled. Then I can have an impact on like nearly every single person in that room. And so the more people that are sitting there,
The
the
better.
more people I can impact. Yeah, that's right. But then I will get up and talk in front of 5 people or
Of
10 people.
course.
in that more intimate thing, but incorporate workshops and stuff like that into it. But the bigger the audience, I love a big audience and the impact that I can actually make in that room, and hopefully create a wave that people can then go home on and go, well, and I get told this all the time, and I get inboxed this all the time. I thought of you today. I was having a bad day, but I thought of you and thought, well, if Justine can get it, if Justine can do this, I can do it as well. And I'm like, okay, well, don't downplay what's happening in your life either. You obviously need support and help for that. So, yeah, if I can make an impact in changing the narrative on life moments, on adversities, yeah.
You're happy. But what's when I say what's your sweet spot, and you've said a big audience, let me ask you, what's the biggest audience you've spoken for?
Oh, about 5,000.
Oh my God, Justine, where was that? Tell us that one.
That was in Sydney, quite a few years ago. I've been public speaking 25.
Well, I'm about to ask what led it to you and how your career's evolved. But I'm just interested. Tell me about that 5,000 one, and then we'll go into how your career of speaking has evolved.
I actually had a multi-level marketing business that I'd gone in and gone. You name the multi-level marketing business, and I've done it. That's part of my
journey.
Right. And I had to get up on stage and tell my story on how I went from making $17 a week in Tupperware to making thousands in that skincare product.
Yeah, right.
I belong to, because that business crashed and burned. Company. Yeah, it doesn't belong.
But it doesn't matter. The experience of speaking to 5,000 people is pretty special.
Huge. Yeah. And although my story has changed, I'm very comfortable in front of a microphone, because me standing up there is not, although I'm telling my story and my experiences, it's not about me. It's about the person that's sitting there that needs to hear that message. And I always tell myself when I'm walking on stage, if nerves start to creep in, I'm like, it's not about me. It's about every single person.
And that is so true. And for a lot of women that feel awkward about pushing themselves forward, I'm like, that is exactly what I say to them. Take the focus off yourself and think of all the people that you can help if you get up there. And all of a sudden, women feel far more comfortable if they think that they're helping someone else. So you alluded to, go on.
Jules, it's knowing your purpose as to why you're hopping on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, my purpose is to give other people hope. And that's my core message in everything that I do, is to give other people hope. So whether it's coaching or the books I write or it's speaking, it's about giving hope. And
I'm sure that you do. Yeah.
And your core message is it makes it so much easier.
It does. Then you can just get up and talk about it to anyone. So you talked about 25 years as a speaker.
Well,
and maybe longer, but there are a whole lot of women that I hope will get inspired by your story. So can you just, we haven't got too long, but like in the next 5 minutes, just kind of tell me a little bit about your speaker career specifically, how it evolved, how you got up on stage the first time, and because are you doing this almost full time now, just speaking?
Yeah, look, I have gigs nearly every single week, and around the country as well. I fly out Thursday next week to Brisbane. I'm speaking at the Disability Expo. I've been doing the circuit of all of those, and I love it. It's an amazing career to have, but I started when I was 17, so it is longer than 25 years. My mum was an MS ambassador, and she used to get up at the schools and do the talks for MS readathons. And she was quite ill one day, and we're in a small country town, and they needed someone. So I actually wagged high school. I would have been in about year 12, I think. Year 11, year 12. Been year 12. And because I knew as much as MS as what she did, and I stood, and I'd heard her do her talk before, and I stood up and I did that talk, and that's when I loved it. And then I did Amway, and we used to have to get up and talk on stage
Yeah.
on Amway, and there's a stage I did 10,000 people when I was about 20, standing on
Wow.
chatting on that as well. So that was in Brisbane, that one. And so, a microphone and me, have gone hand in
Best
hand for a very
friends.
long time.
So that you
But then,
don't ever so you don't ever remember a time where you were really nervous and you were, I guess, the first few times when you're crafting what it is you're going to say and what works and what doesn't with the audience, you don't recall. I mean, it's a while ago, obviously, but well, not that you're not 21, but you don't recall that that period where you're practicing all the time and just trying to get better and better and better. You just kind of jumped
no,
in with both feet.
I never practiced.
Right.
Does that seem really bad?
No, well, I think
I'm
it's when it's your own story as well, and it's coming from the heart, then there's no trickery around it. There's nothing you have to recall because it's your own story.
I also think that particularly women get imposter syndrome before they're about to walk on the
Oh my
stage.
God, yes.
And then they question everything that they're saying and they get it all mumbled up. Whereas we know our stories, our subject as well, whether it's a story about you or the subject that you're
That you
speaking
teach.
about.
Yeah.
And no one knows if you're going to stuff it up. No one knows if you've stuffed it up because they
Yeah,
can't see
true.
in front of you. They can't see, well, if you've got, the screen in front of you, you might have a PowerPoint up the top.
Or that you missed a chunk or missed a slide, who cares?
Time I've got an acquired brain injury. So I stand up on stage and say, look, if any of you get up and move or are chatting or are talking on your phone or go to the toilet, I'm going to lose where I'm up to. So I'm going to pick on someone in the audience to just jolt me where I'm back to. And all of a sudden I've got everyone's attention and they're like, oh God, I hope she doesn't pick on me.
Yeah, nice.
I say it humorously as well, but it'll happen. And
Yeah.
if I let that worry me, I wouldn't get up on stage. But
No, I remember the first time I got up in front of, 100 plus people, and I was so nervous. And my nervous thing is that my mouth goes completely dry, no moisture at all.
Yeah.
And I get up on this stage and I thought, I'll tell them I'm really nervous. This is the first time I've done it. I remember so well thinking they would all laugh, and they don't. They all look at you going, oh my God, I've got an amateur. So that was one of my first learnings. Sharing your nervousness doesn't inspire trust or anything in anyone, really.
And
so it's interesting.
Then you're making it about you.
Yeah.
So if you're that nervous, you're making it about you. But look, I've had many a career. So I was a Tupperware leader, manager, and had a team of 60. So I had to stand up in front and talk to them. I used to be one of the top training people in WA, standing up and talking in front of them. I was a Weight Watchers leader for 10 years. So I used to talk in front of 500 people.
Okay, so that's interesting to me because that's as part of your job, and I can see that. So when did you decide to do this as your own person? Oh, I was going to go, that's part of your job to do those talks then. So when did you decide to go out on your own as Justine Martin, speaker?
Yep. So I became an MS ambassador myself back in about 2013. And then in 2019, when I was doing an MS ambassador talk, someone said to me, you're really good at this. Have you thought about going out by yourself? And I went, oh. And they said, you could make some money.
That's a thing.
And I'm like, oh. Because at that stage, like being an ambassador, you never got paid for it. And we were all over the state doing these things. They gave us so many cents per kilometre for doing it, but it was all voluntary. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I went off and thought, oh, well, I better hone my skills, and went off and did a speaking course and quit.
Right.
Hated it. Absolutely hated it. And then from there, COVID hit.
Right.
And so any speaking opportunities face-to-face were gone, but I did a couple of webinars and online stuff. And at that stage, the speaking business was under one of the other businesses under Resilience Mindset. And then I started honing more
And of
in.
course, your topic as people were coming out of COVID would have been everyone wanted something around resilience. How are
Yeah,
we going to bounce forward from this,
yeah,
terrible
yeah, that's
experience? Right.
right. And so then what we did was we registered Justine Martin as its own entity to take it seriously that, I want to speak on international stages around the
Stages.
world, which I've done. I just want to speak on more. That's
I understand that completely. So,
yeah.
how do you find gigs then, Justine? Like, let's say post COVID, so when it became a career choice to speak, what did you do to get the gigs? Did you sign up with a bureau? Did you just reach out directly? How did you find them?
All right, so I applied to all the bureaus to start with back in about 21, 22, but my
Yeah.
speaking reel wasn't real top notch, but I sent it out anyway, and I know I didn't get anything back. And then I'm like, right, well, I've got to get better footage for my speaking reel, and it's still not A1, and I am going to get to Mel Hurd.
I was going to go, Melinda Hurd, you need to go and see.
Mel and I are good friends, so she's definitely on the list next year to hone in on that speaking reel. But I started branding myself as a speaker. So,
Right.
which really helped. And like you said, I'm all over social media, and I am. We've got 16 platforms, and I have a VA that helps me with all of that because I can't do it all myself. And, from one gig you get generally another gig. There'll be someone in the audience. So, you mention that you are available for other talks.
Yeah, right.
LinkedIn is a really good place, making sure that your bio is current, and then that everything is current, I think, is another important thing to do.
Yes.
There's a lot of online platforms that you can join as a speaker here in Australia to put your profiles up. I mean, ours being one of them, but there's quite a lot of others, and I've had work through there as well. Bark is another one if you want to buy credits, which that can get very costly.
But does Bark really work? I've heard very bad things about it. I've seen the requests coming out for speakers, but then somebody said to me, "No, it's all
Oh no,
dodgy."
it works. And if you've had any issues with it, I just ring support and they give me my credits back.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
I just wasted 15 credits on this, and they don't even want a speaker, so they'll reimburse you it back. Which
that's good.
I have an up-to-date speaker kit as well, so people go on the website. I've got my own website purely now just for speaking, but it has got links back to all the other websites.
Yeah.
So being proactive with it, and talking. When you talk to people, you tell people that you're a speaker. Don't presume that they know.
That's right. I think really good advice. So we haven't got too much longer, but I'm interested if people go to one of your talks, what would be 2 key takeaways that people get when they go to your talks? Hope is obviously one of them.
Yeah, hope, and not to give up.
Yeah.
And can I say another one?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, I'm big on pushing adapt and modify. Just because you've done something one way doesn't mean that that's the only way that it ever can be done.
Oh, here. That's right. That's where innovation comes from. Just that adapt and modify.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. It just, in my case, to learn something new now because of my acquired brain injury, it takes a lot longer. And I mean a lot longer than what it ever did before.
Used to, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I'm sure you find your audiences are very forgiving as well, because once you've told them your story, they would be like, I can't even believe she's standing on the stage in front of me. Anything that she does is going to be fine.
And it's quite funny because I get people now coming up and saying to me, oh, I've always wanted to meet you. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And it's like, oh, and there was one the other night that had happened and I'm like, oh, okay. And it's quite bizarre. And people coming up to me, like, I can go anyway. I've just been to Bali for the Global Speakers Summit. And someone from Geelong recognised me walking along the street in Bali because they follow me on socials, and I was at a speaking event last week, and they went, "Oh, I saw you in Bali," and I'm like, "What?" And so it's
Yes.
working. What I'm doing is working. So
Well done. Okay, now we talked about this very briefly beforehand. Can you tell us about a memorable speaking gig that you've had?
so I had one last week in front of 300 year 9, year 10 girls here in Geelong, and I was on a panel, and we were talking about what's coming up for us, and I mentioned that I've got a new book coming out because I'm a publisher as well, but I've got my life story coming out, a memoir.
Right.
And I said to the assistant principal, I went, do you think I could? Do you think I can say the subject? I'm going to swear, and he's just kind of looked at me, going, "Oh, yeah." And all the girls are like, "Yeah," and so I'm talking like every high school in Geelong was represented there, as well as all the way to Tarnate, and there were heaps.
Great.
Anyway, so I've come out with, okay, well, it's my new book is called Moxie, How I Learned to Harden the Fuck Up. And you can see the teachers go, oh, and then...
And all the kids go, I want to read it, I want to read it, I want to read it.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm onto something here, because that's the generation, you know, my auntie's like, you can't call it that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not the demographic who needs to read them.
I always say that when I think I was at Brisbane Airport with my 3 boys when they were like, I don't know, I have twins. So maybe the twins were 8 and Jake was 12. And I said, you can choose any book you want out of the bookshop because we're going to catch a plane. And they all went for that orange covered book that is everywhere with the word fuck in the headline. I can't remember what it is. And I was like, oh my God, he must sell so many of them just because of that swear word. So I love it. I think it's great.
Another thing I learnt as well is what icons can you have at the back of the room. So we're all about, sell your books at the back of the room. You've got to have a book to be a speaker. And, I can help people with that. But what other icons are there? And so with this book coming out, I actually have been selling for a while little bags of fucks and little bags of dicks. So, you handy to be a dick. And so they're things that will be on my product table. I also sell jars of positivity as well. And so although, you're having an impact on stage, how can you have an impact afterwards with the words that you've said? And
that will resonate.
Yeah, that's right. And so, look at your merchandise of what you've got at the back of the room that you can sell, because there's so much more than just having your memoir at the back or a book at the back. Look at other little things that you can sell as well. So that was something that I learned recently at a speaking event, and I'm like, oh, I've got that stuff. Why aren't I bringing it to speaking gigs?
Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. So last but definitely not least, how can someone book you other than find you obviously on womenspeakers.com.au, but you've got a website you said as well?
I have. It's justinemartin.com.au, or just put in Justine Geelong, and I'm very Google-licious, and I come up absolutely everywhere.
And you'll pop up. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing your story and some of the insights about being a speaker and what you've learned. I'm definitely going to catch you the next time I see you on a stage. I hope anybody watching has really enjoyed this interview. If you need a speaker, please go to womenspeakers.com.au. You don't have to pay a commission. You can contact your preferred speaker directly, and you can search by topic and location. And of course, we need more women on stages, so please do it. You're also welcome to post a request if you're looking for a speaker into either the Facebook or the LinkedIn groups, both called Australian Women Speakers. And that's free, obviously, as well. And that way, I've seen a couple of people post and had 79 responses, so you clearly will find a speaker. And if you are a speaker and you want to be found, please sign up to our directory at womenspeakers.com.au. But I think by banding together, all of us women can change that stat, because we were hard to find Now there's no excuse at all as far as I'm concerned. So thank you. And thanks again so much, Justine.
You're welcome, Jules, and thanks for doing a wonderful job and looking out for all us women speakers.
My pleasure. Wow, we did that in 30 minutes and 8 seconds. How good are we? Okay, so this is up on YouTube.